Every day at 6:30 in the evening, the phone at Antonio's pizzeria would ring. The voice on the other end was always the same. "One large pepperoni pizza, please. Extra cheese." The woman lived alone in a small house on the edge of town. Mark, the delivery guy, knew her address by heart. He was a young man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Mark always delivered her pizza with a friendly greeting. He hoped it might brighten her day, even just a little. He knew her name from the order slips, Mrs. Eleanor Davis, but he never knew more. He only saw glimpses of her life through the doorway. A quiet living room, a flickering television, a sense of solitude. He never asked questions, he never pried. But in his heart, Mark felt a pang of sympathy for the woman who seemed so alone. He couldn't explain it, but he felt a connection to her. Maybe it was the routine of it all, or maybe it was something more. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The routine never changed. Pepperoni pizza, extra cheese, 6:30 p.m. sharp. Mark found himself looking forward to seeing Mrs. Davis each day. He'd often wonder about her life. What brought her joy? What were her dreams? He imagined she had stories to tell if only someone would listen. One evening, as Mark handed her the pizza, he noticed something different. Mrs. Davis seemed out of sorts. Her voice was weaker than usual. Her hand trembled as she took the pizza box. He wanted to say something, to ask if she was all right. But he hesitated. He worried he would overstep. So he simply offered a kind smile and said, "Take care, Mrs. Davis." As he walked back to his car, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He told himself it was nothing. She was probably just having a bad day. But deep down, a seed of concern had been planted. He couldn't ignore it. The next day, the clock ticked past 6:30 p.m. The phone remained silent. Mark glanced at the clock, a knot forming in his stomach. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she decided to order something different. He tried to rationalize the break in routine, but as the minutes turned into an hour, his worry grew stronger. He couldn't shake the image of Mrs. Davis's trembling hand from the night before. He shared his concerns with Tony, the pizzeria owner. Tony, a man with a gruff exterior but a heart of gold, listened patiently. He told Mark not to worry. People change their routines, he said. Don't go looking for trouble. But Mark couldn't ignore the unease gnawing at him. He knew deep down that something was wrong. He decided to trust his gut. He told Tony he was going to check on Mrs. Davis. He wouldn't say anything about the pizza. He'd just make sure she was okay. Mark drove to Mrs. Davis's house. His heart pounded in his chest. He knocked gently on the door. No answer. He knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. He tried the doorknob. To his surprise, it was unlocked. He cautiously stepped inside, calling out, "Mrs. Davis, are you here?" The house was quiet, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. He walked towards the living room, his heart sinking with each step. And then he saw her. Mrs. Davis was slumped on the floor, unconscious. Panic surged through him. He rushed to her side, checking for a pulse. It was faint, but it was there. He immediately called 911. Within minutes, an ambulance arrived. As the paramedics wheeled Mrs. Davis out on a stretcher, one of them turned to Mark and said, "You got here just in time. Another hour, and it could have been a different story." Mark sat in his car, watching the ambulance disappear into the distance. He was shaken but relieved. He had saved Mrs. Davis's life. A wave of emotion washed over him. He realized that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can have the biggest impact. A friendly smile, a kind word, a simple act of noticing. These things can make all the difference. He thought about all the times he had delivered pizza to Mrs. Davis. He never imagined that his routine deliveries would lead to something so profound. He learned that day that we are all connected, in ways we may never fully understand, and that even the most ordinary lives can be filled with extraordinary moments. As he started his car and drove away, he knew that he would never forget Mrs. Davis, and he knew that he would never underestimate the power of a small act of kindness.